Well, hello, wherever you are, and welcome. Welcome to Joyful Mondays. It is Monday, the beginning of a great week, and we're in the holiday season. I am Joy Ruffin, and I work as a leadership and style consultant, a signature style specialist, executive producer, TV host, and podcaster. But my joy and my pleasure is every week to bring you a featured guest speaker and have a topic that evolves around something that will intrigue and excite and inspire you. And that's exactly what we're going to do. My friends, the work that I do is as a leadership and style consultant, and there's so much more involved with it. Leadership is what we're going to be talking about somewhat today. And I'm going to start off and share some points with you. I'm navigating here with a lot of changes and a lot of things and so on and so forth. So bear with us for a minute. Leadership is all, by the way, our title this week is about emotions, leadership, and you. What is your leadership style? How do you show up? You, not anyone else. You don't copy, emulate, compare, or compete with anyone. It's all about you. Because leadership, and I start off with quotes. I'm going to share a few with you that hopefully will impact and be meaningful to you. Leadership is all about emotional intelligence. Management is taught, while leadership is experienced. And that's by one of these beautiful gurus out of India, Raji Zuri, S-U-R-I. I hope that's how you pronounce it, close. Because quotes give us the impetus to think, food for thought, and begin to consider other options and possibilities. Leadership is, and I'm looking down here because I have not gotten the hang of my new toy here. Leadership is a capacity to influence others through inspiration motivated by passion, generated by vision. Oh, don't you love this? And produced by a conviction that hopefully the prayers that will ignite a purpose in others. And that's what we're all about here. And that's why I'm excited to bring you my featured guest speaker today, because we are going to talk a lot about leadership, how a coach and a consultant or a specialist, whatever title you go by, can guide you in the right direction. Friends, if you're in leadership, it's about how to foster and motivate morale in your team, your group, your community of others. And we're going to talk a little bit about community today. Mastering the big three emotions. There are more, but the big three, I speak to them all the time. Emotional healing, emotional security, emotional intelligence. They're all connected. They're all aligned. I could go on and on, but let me just say this to you. We are here to do and learn and master the art of managing our emotions. My friend and I, our featured guest and I, we had a little hiccup before we came on. So we both giggle, we chuckle over it, because life is not about perfection. Life is about perfecting. There's a difference. I'm a wordsmith. Your journey, your emotions, and getting to the purity of what's the core of you that you want to show and present to others. Your gift, your greatness, and the genius in you belongs to you and you only. And you are here, as my featured guest is going to do, to share with you today and the rest of your life, because nothing is given to you to keep. I love the work that we do here on Joyful Mondays and Leading Ladies, Leading Legacies. Let me share with you, I'm going to repeat something, that it's not about perfection. It is about perfecting your leadership style and being true to your innate gift, greatness, and purpose, and the genius in you. And yes, indeed, you do have it. Everyone does. We're all evolving. We're all part of a big collective, but we're growing at different speeds and different levels. Let me leave you with this. And this is a good one. They're all good. But this one, I think, will wrap it up for us. The number one skill when you embody all the things that I mentioned to you and all the other quotes and so on is flexibility in your thinking. And that's exactly what you're going to hear a little bit about today. Friends, before I get going here, let me take a quick little reset, because I want to invite you to join. If you are not a member already, oh my goodness gracious, as Momsy would say, why not? I want you to join my group, Leading Ladies, Leading Legacies, on Facebook, because your vision, and I spoke to this briefly before, your mission and your purpose, it belongs to others. It's for you to share. And that's what my featured guest speaker is going to be doing today with you. So we want you to always know that you're welcome here. The welcome mat is out for you. Now, I have a color quiz. Oh, I'm excited about it because it's all about color. Don't we love color? Most of us truly love color. All colors, but all colors don't love you back. So your assignment, you know we love homework here, is to find out what are the colors that are best for you. And that's the beginning seeds of your journey, because style and embodying and embracing your signature style, it's all about the right colors for you. Now, I want my engineer to put up my featured guest speakers graphic. Now, he's inviting you to a VIP membership giveaway, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that he does and how it will benefit you. But that Mark Gilroy, I tell you, take a screenshot, take a snapshot, and make sure after this interview with him today, and maybe even in between and before, you make a connection with him, because you're going to love what he has to say. Let me share a little bit with you about my featured guest speaker. His name is Mark Gilroy. Most of you know that I'm doing a lot of edifying and all of that good stuff and research on YouTube. I love YouTube. I call it Mr. and Mrs. YouTube, Dr. YouTube, and the YouTube University, because don't we all go there to discover stuff? Well, that's how I found this featured guest speaker, and he was pleased to see and to hear about my madness, and he said he agreed to become a featured guest speaker, so I'm honored. Mark Gilroy, let me share a little bit about him. He's a coach, he's a consultant, a specialist, and a content creator with a background in psychology. Maybe that's why I fell in love with him. Tech and leadership. And these are the skills that I'm all about and wanting always to know more about. Mark loves, as I do, and you'll hear it and you'll see it and you'll feel it, embracing, helping, supporting people to embrace their inner geek. When I first met with him, he was so embracing and so welcoming, and he would not allow me to underline or undermine anything that I was about, which sometimes I have a tendency to do. So I fell in love. He's about helping you feel comfortable and confident with stuff, especially if it has to do with technology and the psychology of the mind. How could you not? No matter what level you are in life. So he's all about the latest in technology and how to upgrade it. So friends, all you have to do is just sit back and relax and help me welcome our featured guest speaker, Mark Gilroy. Mark, come on up. Mark, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Joy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here. I love listening to your YouTube broadcast. I love what you're about. And there's so much that we're going to be talking about, and the time just flies. Give us a brief little synopsis, even though I shared a little bit about how you came to do and love the work that you're doing.
Oh my gosh, I'll be as brief as I possibly can be. So, I remember there was a point in my kind of high school education where the question comes up, doesn't it? What do you want to do? What do you think you want to do? What do you want to study?
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know. I've no idea. At the time, I was obsessed with this television kind of personality. I think he has made it quite big in the States, actually. He's a guy called Darren Brown. He's a British guy.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's a kind of psychological illusionist, and all of his shows used to start with this fuses magic, psychology, and showmanship. And I was like, okay, I know what magic is and I know what showmanship is, but I don't know about this psychology thing. I wonder what that's all about. So genuine, honest answer, I went off and I studied psychology for probably almost 4 years, with a view to just not necessarily becoming Darren Brown, but learning a bit more about what goes on inside our heads. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I was one of the very fortunate few to have left my kind of studies and ended up doing a job that actually was connected to what I studied. So I became a sort of coach and a consultant for a personality assessments business. So I used to fly around the world and train people on how to kind of read people's personalities, interpret personalities. Yeah, it was a fascinating business, and I met some really cool people, really cool teams. And as often happens, actually, because I was really interested to what you said about kind of leadership and emotion.
Yes. Mark, I have to tell you, I have to interject here because I get excited. And it's just my DNA and yours as well. I don't know if I told you, but my sister, one of the reasons I loved listening to you and tuning in, I felt and I sensed that she got 2 degrees in psychology. My sister,
Oh,
I went in the other direction. I went into the woo-woo tribe, but it's the same. We used to have the most fabulous conversation. So I get it. Tell me this, though. You could go on, and I can too. How did that take you to this thing that you gave me, which I really want us to speak about? How to take a career right turn, because that was very pivotal for so many people after the pandemic. So how do you address that and share that with people? And thank you for sharing that story with us.
yeah. And I think a lot of people are in this position. A lot of my work when I'm coaching people, I still work as a coach. I coach kind of CEOs, board members,
Yes,
senior
yes, yes.
managers, and most conversations in my coaching room starts with, I think I'm a bit of a crossroads. I think I've
Mm-hmm.
reached a point where I need to make a decision. Life is telling me that I need to make a call, this box or this box. What do I
Yes.
do? And actually, up until then, it hadn't really happened to me, but it did. I'd reached a point where I'd actually become quite unhappy with my work, primarily because the job that I was doing had just changed into something else, and all
Mm-hmm.
the things that I love doing, it was just every single time uh, I found myself in a meeting with a lawyer or an accountant, or oh, well, in this case, it was actually estate agents. That's a longer story for another time. I I just was getting really miserable with my work, and there were, sometimes there's this little voice at the back of your head going, something's not right. And
Yes.
over time, that little voice turned into a much louder voice, and it
Mm-hmm.
turned into eventually a voice that was screaming at me, you need to make a change here, because you're going to make yourself really very unhappy and probably quite poorly.
Yes.
um, and so that's what I did. I chose to take an entire career right turn. Now, in parallel to this sort of identity and these labels that I built up for
Mm-hmm.
myself, you of them at the start with your very beautiful introduction: coach, consultant, practitioner, specialist.
Yes.
I'd been kind of cultivating this other identity, this other kind of persona online. That
Uh-huh.
sounds weird, doesn't it? That sounds a bit dodgy. I mean, not that kind of persona. It was a much geekier kind of YouTube persona, which was focused on another one of my passions, and it just kept growing. And I thought, I really enjoy doing this. It seems to be building a community and an audience. Maybe
Ooh,
there's maybe I should just lean into that and see
love that.
if I can follow
Yes.
the energy.
Mark, you gave us a key word here, because when we talk about take a career right turn, it's 99.9% of when all of us are at a crossroads,
Yeah.
and we need to do that. And your next tip that you gave me in topic is the challenge, and you alluded to it briefly there, of professional identity and change. How do
Hmm.
you offer people that you work with, that you're associated with now, Mark, to segue into that professional identity and change? Because that's what people are looking for, even sometimes when they don't know it. Because I, like you, and I know this, I see, I feel, and I hear oftentimes what's not being seen or heard or shown. So how do you
Yeah.
do?
So I'm not going to explain the full nature of this study, but there is a very famous study by a psychologist called Daniel Kahneman, where
Mhm.
he and his colleague were able to show that actually people are okay with change. Change happens all the time. People get married, they get divorced.
Yes.
People
Yeah.
get people are new people are born, people die, people move house. Around this time of year, the pumpkin spice latte turns up in
Oh
most
my
coffee shops and then
God.
it disappears again.
The
I'm pretty
profundity
sure
of
that.
Mark, the profundity of what you just said is so powerful. People are changing all the time, but yet fear change. But the word change, that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for that, because I think we all needed to hear that.
So you kind of have to go from there and think, well, if they don't fear change, what do they fear?
Yeah.
And Kahneman and his colleague were able to show that in lots of situations, when people perceive change as a loss, they start to behave in really unusual and very unpredictable ways. So the underline there is actually people don't fear change; they fear loss.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That just resonated, as my friend would say, to the marrow of my bones, because that's it, Mark. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. And so if it's about framing, when you think about when someone goes through change, if you're thinking about someone, some people who are watching this, you probably have had colleagues, maybe it might have even been you might describe yourself as change averse, or they don't like change, or they won't change. Actually, another way of looking at that is, well, to what extent are they perceiving that change as something that might mean a
Mm,
loss to them? It could be a loss of a job, it could be a loss of their expertise, it could be a real or an imagined loss. But a lot of the times it's a loss of identity. Like if I'm
yeah.
moving on, like, I remember when I when my eldest child, my son, was born,
Yes.
somebody sat me down and he said to me, just in those first few days, if you start to notice emotions and feelings that might be described as grief, don't worry about it because it's really normal. And I was like,
Mhm,
all right, mate, okay, fine.
mhm,
I don't think I'll be feeling that,
mhm.
but I, even though I didn't feel grief because I was incredibly happy to meet my son, I do understand what he meant, and I think it's to do with the loss of the person you were, and also
Yeah.
the loss of the kind of the couple that you were, or whoever you were with your partner, because you suddenly realize that life will never ever be the same again.
Oh, Mark. Your clarity and your expression and explaining just that will be the pivotal point that most people will zero in, and it will stick with them because it was beyond words. Because I really think, even myself, I always speak only for me, but I know that it resonates hopefully with others. I don't, hopefully it does. That clarified for me a lot of this thing that I don't run from anymore, change, because it is more about loss. So that's beautiful. And then you mentioned here professional identity and what
Yeah,
they surmise will happen once they make this, they segue to something new. How do you
yeah,
speak to that? How do you assure them? I don't know if you, well, how do you share that? The identity of change, a professional change, because we're talking about leaders here. We're talking about leadership.
mm.
First for yourself, right?
It has to be the self, and it has to be about acknowledging a couple of things. First of all, the identity that you construct for yourself is exactly that. You constructed it. So in my case, I was an experienced kind of quite corporate professional. I used to wear lots of suits. I was, I was a serving company director. I'd been actually running a multi-million pound company for probably
Mhm,
best
mhm.
part of 7 or 8 years at this stage. And
Yay!
I realized that these were all parts of my identity that I've constructed. Like one of the first questions we ask each other, isn't it? Is what do you do?
Yes,
People need to know the answer to that question, and they want to put you in a box which is
yes,
linked to
yes,
your
yes.
identity.
Uh-huh.
So actually, any change that you make is going to have involve kind of redefining that, coming up with some new words to describe that stuff, and potentially, back to loss, letting some of that stuff go. And the nicest metaphor that I came across when I was thinking about this was this idea that these identities that we wear, especially professional identities, they're a bit like shoes. And if you can like picture walking along a beach in a pair of shoes, it might be quite a nice posh, maybe an expensive pair of shoes. And actually, after a while, if you've ever done this on a beach, you'll know that the sand gets in pretty quickly
Yes, yes,
and it
yes,
gets
yes.
very uncomfortable. And you actually go, actually, I've just walked all this way in these shoes and they have taken me here pretty well. I'm very grateful for that. But actually, I think I need to take them off now because A, they're heavy. B, they're getting a bit uncomfortable. And C, I'm probably going to need to find a different way to tread and to walk.
Ah, Mark.
Uh, and I think there is that sort of sense of it's okay to
Hmm.
put that stuff down, even though this is really important stuff that has gotten you this far. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
eradicate it, it doesn't invalidate it, but actually being able to acknowledge it and go, "Thank you, you got me
You
this far."
you spoke to well, the profundity of what you're sharing with all of us is to me beyond memorable because when you mention that word box, that's what most people today are attempting in every way to get out of,
Mm,
conforming to. Like, I like boxes, but I don't like being in them. I've always been out of the box. And that question, what do you do? I don't ask people that anymore because I find other ways to make a connection with people. And that's my way. Doesn't mean it's the only way. But what you just said is so profound. Let me ask you, because that led into what we're going to end with, and you alluded to it again, the importance of community.
Yeah.
You ended with the shoes in the sand, but you mentioned in other ways, because to me, it's about family, relationships, and community. Everything that you do goes under those three umbrellas. I don't care what it is. So let's talk about the importance of community and what you do and how you have built your community around that work.
Yeah, I think community is kind of everything, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yes.
I've,
Yes.
I've come to have a renewed appreciation for that word in the last few years. I think we saw it a lot post pandemic. Communities coming together to help each other out, maybe meeting your neighbor who you'd never met before.
Exactly.
I've certainly found this raising a family. I don't live very close to my parents, who thankfully are still with me, but actually, so I have this kind of tribe who I've gathered along the way, who are my other family in my kind of village. So I think we're all about cultivating these little villages of which we are members.
Right. And I call it extended family, Mark, because whether your family and your parents and the family unit that's closest relatives are close, you build extended family. You build a tribe. I love the word tribe because of my Native American DNA and background. But yes, you build your tribe, your extended family. So how do you go about doing that now with the work that you're doing?
Well, I think every time that the career right turn that we talked about was a perfect opportunity to build in a different tribe. I think for a long time, I started trying to carry across members of my previous kind of professional tribe, and it didn't really fit. It didn't really fit. And it took me a while to kind of work that out and go, actually, I think I need to build something else here. And this is kind of like classic motivational poster stuff, but I do believe it's true, is that your vibe attracts your tribe. So I started becoming much more kind of irreverent and a little bit more cheeky on a lot of my content, a bit more, leaning into my kind of sense. I've got quite a naughty sense of humor. And the more I did that, the more I started gathering these comments going, oh my gosh, that was, people were obviously kind of vibing with that.
Yes.
And yes, over time, actually, I've built this wonderful little community of people who subscribe to my channels, but also interact with me. I have a little closed community of people where I kind of share behind the scenes stuff. I do giveaways, and I also give away a lot of kind of content that I've built myself. And it's just really nice to be able to have this sort of sounding board that we all kind of benefit from. Oftentimes I'm not that involved with it, and then I come back and I see all these little discussions have sprung up, and it's lovely.
It is. I love that, Mark, and I'm chuckling away here in love because I came to you. I'm doing a lot of YouTube research, as I mentioned to you, and I'm gliding and going back and forth because much of it, unfortunately, is direct. But you captivated my attention because, first off, I could understand every word you were saying, and I love your accent. And when you say you're a little cheeky and a little snarky, in a subtle way, so am I. And what you said that's really important is your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you're patient, you give it time, people will come to you who want to connect and discover more about you and what you're doing. Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Yeah, it is. And I think just sort of building on that, I think it's very easy to, and I'm thinking about your comment about emotions at the start of the session.
Yes.
I think if you can help somebody feel an emotion that is connected to who you are, it's very easy to build a community. So in my case, a practical version of that would be, I was born in the early 80s. I grew up in the 80s. So if I can call back to something that happened in that era, people feel nostalgia and they feel a sense of kind of kinship around that. And we often connect around, really silly kind of 90s references or 80s references that a lot of people who were born after that just wouldn't get. So it's that tribal behavior. It's about showing we are all part of this same group. We've been through the same sort of stuff together. Wasn't it hard? Wasn't it funny? Wasn't it interesting? And having people connect on that level, on an emotional level, is probably the safest way to make people feel included as part of a community.
And you just said something that's really powerful because it doesn't have to be just your generation. If you said something that's emotional that resonated and clicked, and there's a kinship in whatever you delivered, there's that connection automatically,
Yeah,
and they become a part of your extended family. Because when you start out, I think on online or in any business, Mark, they tell you, stay focused, stay in your group, stay in your lane, whoever you want to connect to. And you do. But do you find that it becomes broad and broader because you have the different generations?
yeah,
I'm part of your extended family now, and I'm a whole different generation and happy to be. So what we all have to remember is when we manage our emotions and get into, and you know what you said to me, and I'm going to leave on this with your parting words, because you touched my heartstrings. I said to you, well, I have all these learning disabilities and I'm at ADHD. And you said, no, you don't. And you said that with sincerity. No, that's just a label or a title and blah, blah, blah. I will never, ever forget that. So I thank you for that. I don't know where the time goes. I'm going to ask my engineer to put up, you and I could go on and on and on. We both know
we
that.
could.
So I'm going to ask her to put up your graphic, and I want you to tell us a little bit more than what I shared. I'm going to ask them to take a screenshot and a snapshot of your graphic, and I want you to tell us what your food for thought, your takeaway, what you're leaving us with. What would that be? And if my engineer could put up your graphic while you're talking and then leave it up for a second or two, that would be great. All righty, go. She's probably having some issues. She's having tech.
That's okay. I can talk. Yeah.
I know.
So,
There he goes. Okay.
Oh, thank you. If you head over to my website, you'll see there is a community tab where you can join up. So anybody who's listening to this, drop me a message. I will send you a code where you can access a whole month of that completely free. So I do weekly rambles where I talk about all sorts. We do Q&As. I sometimes give away sort of tools and techniques around kind of productivity systems, psychology systems. I've got a bunch of digital downloads, and I also I give away products every month. So people are very kind to send me all sorts of tech, and every month we do a completely random prize draw giveaway, and I give away either 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 items in that. As a little bonus as well, I'm a really big fan of learning, and I know this is a big part of your community here, Joy. So
it is.
I did mention this to you beforehand, so this is a bit of a surprise. I've been working with a company called Skillshare, who do kind of online learning, and they've agreed with me that I can give away some codes for a whole month of access to their courses. Wow. And I'm not supposed to say this, but basically, if you want to get some free learning, they do all sorts. So if you're doing like you, Joy, if you want to set up a YouTube channel, if you want to do a side hustle around digital art, or if you want to learn how to code, there's hundreds of courses on there. Wow. And you can have as much of it as you want for a month, and then just cancel your membership, and it's all yours. So I will.
We love you already. You need to say nothing else. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm part of the extended family now, and I'm sure that people took a screenshot or a snapshot of your graphic and will get in touch with you. I know that I will. I don't know where the time goes, my friend, but thank you for being here. It's over. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure. She's going to put you in the green room, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Friends, do I bring you the best featured guest speakers in the whole wide world? Yes, I do. Because the sincerity, the passion, and the purpose there of connecting with you, it's genuine. It's true. It's real. So whatever you do, whenever you do it, make sure that you do connect. This is the beginning of the last week in November. Can you believe it? We're in big holiday season. So make the best of it. Enjoy that turkey if you do, wherever you are. And if not, say blessings and prayers for all of those who do. And know that I'm sending you always much, much love from my heart to yours. Be and stay well. Best of everything always. Cheers.